We're on Pensacola Beach, and I've got a special guest today, Ed Flemming, head counsel and lead attorney for the land lease case, which we're going to explain here in a minute. So grab a notepad, and I'm going to turn all this off. But grab a notepad and make sure if you have any questions that you send me a message or just comment on this video, and we'll hook you up. So again, we're going to talk about the long lease case. What I've asked Ed to do is cover about 3 points. One is going to be why Pensacola Beach has a lease or is a leasehold. What's the difference for you as an owner? And then if you ever wanted to sell it, what's the benefit? So we're going to talk about those 3 things, starting with the most basic benefit of having a lease on the island.
Certainly. And to my right here and to the left there on the screen is a map of Santa Rosa Island that's located in Escambia County that we affectionately know as Pensacola Beach. And it has some color codes in it. And those codes are green, which indicates that those leases are what the courts have called leases in perpetuity. And the ones that are the reddish pink color are the ones that are true leases on Pensacola Beach. And the fact that all of the property on Pensacola Beach is titled to Escambia County has a historical basis. As most of you know, the entire state of Florida, of course, was once Spanish, under Spanish domain. And after the Spanish ceded title to the United States had title for everything. And so the U.S. Carved out certain areas, the beaches being one of them, in which it said, these are areas that we want to preserve for public use. So for instance, on Fort Pickens, which is way to the other end of your map over here, and it's not shown on the map, it was carved out as a national park. And that national park, of course, has a gate, and you have to pay an entry fee for it. And it is pristine. Looks like it did 5,000 years ago. You know, it's very, very nice. And then to the east of here, past Navarre, of course, you have more national seashore area that's off of Eglin. It's part of the Eglin base. It'll never be developed. It'll also be preserved, which makes this whole area very desirable for those of you who have traveled in Central and South Florida. You know that the beaches are so heavily developed that they no longer have the beauty that our Gulf Coast beaches have. Here on Pensacola Beach, the area that we know as Pensacola Beach was originally called a national monument. That's a little less protected than a national park, but it nonetheless was titled in the federal government. The federal government said, you know, we don't need it for a park. We've got plenty of park space. We would like to keep it within the public domain, and so therefore we're going to deed it to Escambia County for the portion of Santa Rosa Island that's within the political jurisdiction of of Escambia County. And then for that area that's in the political jurisdiction of Santa Rosa County, we're going to deed that to Santa Rosa County, and that's what we know as Navarre Beach. The Santa Rosa County said, we don't want it. Who wants it? You know, right. It's nothing but sand. You can't grow corn on it. You know, there's nothing but sand flies and the sand. And so, not recognizing the value of it, they declined the deed. Escambia County said, yeah. How much is that again? 0. It sounds like the price is right. We'll take it. Yeah. So Escambia County took it, and when Escambia County took it. When Santa Rosa County said, we don't want it, Escambia County said, we'll take it, deed it to us. So both the Navarre Beach and Pensacola Beach are deeded to Escambia County with a deed restriction saying it can be leased, but it can't be sold. So the origin of the perpetual leases was when Santa Rosa County recognized its error. They went to the Escambia County and said, hey, dude, we'd love to have that deeded to us. Why don't you just deed that portion to us? And the Escambia County Commissioner said, well, you know, Bubba, we'd love to, but we can't
Right? That's what it
because
is.
there's a deed restriction
This
in
is
there.
word for word.
And there's letters that go back and forth that are really funny to read. And so Santa Rosa County said, "You're just making that up. You're just using that as an excuse for not granting." I said, no, Bubba, it's really in here. It really says that we can't deed it. And so that went back and forth, and there was a feud, and they were mad at each other. And then apparently over drinks at the old Trader John's or something, they said, "Hey, I got an idea. You can lease it to us," with a wink and a nod. And that lease would be for 99 years, automatically renewable for 99 years, automatically renewable for 99 years till kingdom come.
Right.
For $100, and it'll be automatic. We don't even have to say, "Oh, by the way, we want to renew." And there's nothing you can do to deprive us of that as long as we pay our $100 a year for that lease. Now, whether they've paid the $100 a year or not, I don't know.
Where the $100 went.
Right, where it goes, doesn't buy a whole lot with governmental services on the $100. But that resulted in some leases. So when Santa Rosa County got title to it, they subleased it. And what did they do in the sublease? Well, some lawyer cut and pasted the same perpetual lease language from the deed from Escambia to Santa Rosa into the individual leases. And that led to the origin of the lease in perpetuity.
Right.
Now, a lease in perpetuity is really not a lease, the law says. It's a rose by any other name, still a rose. A conveyance by any other name is still a conveyance. And if you have the right to possess that property forever, then it's not a lease.
Well, I love the explanation of the lease, how we got to the leasehold island. And this, don't get too distracted by this picture because it really just shows 18% of a 26-mile barrier island. So this is just a small portion of the island that can be developed. And one of the beautiful things about it is that it's so huge, so long, and that we're keeping most 82% of it is just national seashore undeveloped. So we're just talking today about the developable part, and I wanted to have Ed come in and talk about these leases and the differences and of course the value of having it. Sure. And what precipitated this video and this whole idea in the tax case is the fact that they did want to tax the land and tax these leases, and there's no rights for ownership. So the point is, Robert Rinke, who owns Resort Realty and our company, hired Ed Flemming and his team of lawyers to come out here and fight this case for us, because we really believed in our hearts that we had a land lease and we would not have to pay taxes on that land lease the way it was written. So if you could tell us the history of that and how that played out,
Sure.
And I guess the benefit of property owners now and for the past few years that have had this benefit from having you out here.
Certainly. Well, prior to 2004, nothing was taxed out here in terms of ad valorem taxation. In 2004, the property appraiser started taxing these properties based on the value of the improvements only, with the theory being that under a 99-year lease, the improvements won't last 99 years. They're wrong on that particular point, but they had a long line of cases that dealt with, clapboard military barracks and everything that wouldn't have lasted 99 years versus steel reinforced concrete that will last, more than 99 years. But the origin of the law ended up being that, yes, the improvements may be taxed, but not the land. And then in 2011, the property appraiser got greedy and said, I think the land's taxable as well. Well, of course, land doesn't have a useful value. It lasts as long as the earth lasts. And so the same rationale didn't apply to the land, except as to the leases in perpetuity, which really weren't leases, they were really conveyances. So anyway, after the property appraiser started taxing the land, Robert, who was a developer of Beach Club as well as Portofino, asked us to make presentations to those two boards. And with Robert's recommendation and assistance and being a cheerleader for the effort, both of those boards said, yes, we're going to make that challenge, even though the other thousands of other leaseholders out here represented by other councils said, it's a losing battle, you shouldn't do it. And so as a result of perseverance of Robert Rinke as a developer and the Beach Club Board of Directors and the Portofino 5 Tower Board of Directors, the litigation was fought and was won all the way to the Florida Supreme Court, multiple appellate cases, multiple motions for rehearing, motions for certification, motions for rehearing en banc for the whole courts, and
Right.
finally that battle was won. And then the battle that had to be won is carving out the value of just the improvements and not the land and the improvements. And out of those cases, there's only one that remains pending. So out of over 2,000 individual clients in those cases, there's 90 who don't have it resolved yet because their case is still before the Florida Supreme Court. But we anticipate a victory in that one as well.
That's fantastic. Well, we really appreciate your work. I was one of the first property owners that wrote those checks every year to make sure that we could stay in the case, and was able to watch all the seminars that Robert would put on and have you come speak to all the property owners. And the main point I wanted to talk to you about is, if you are a property owner on the island, what does the leasehold benefit you in the future? In other words, just from an ownership standpoint, and again from a taxing standpoint, how much would you save if you are in the red and you don't have to pay the property taxes because you're paying a small lease fee?
Certainly. Well, probably one of the best examples is one of the leases that recently renewed for 99 years. And so for 99 years, they're going to be paying taxes only on the improvements, not on the improvements and the land. And we calculated that is a per unit benefit to that particular condominium of more than $300,000.
Okay.
Now, of course, that's $300,000 over 99 years, and you'd say you have to discount that back to future value. But the fact is that's also based on current tax rates, and we know tax rates only do one thing.
In current dollars.
They go
So
up.
yeah, I think
Right.
it's a low estimate.
Yeah.
And I did see the calculation. It's closer to 400,000.
It's
but-
close to 400,000, and that's for the larger units at Beach Club.
Right.
And but so if you have a property, and the condos are finite leases, they're true leases, and the land victory inured to the benefit of all the condos.
Okay.
And if you have those units, you're taxed less than you would be taxed if you had fee simple ownership. And so, the disadvantages of it is, at some point, 99 years from now, 80 years from now, the lease has to be renegotiated. However, the Santa Rosa Island Authority has renegotiated those leases either on the same terms or conditions, or under the current county policy, they're going to say, we'll either give you the equivalent of a deed at the end of that, and you'll pay ad valorem taxation, or we will adjust your lease rate to reflect the then fair market value of the lease rate. So either way, you're going to have control over that property for your children, for your grandchildren. And so
That's awesome.
it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. People get excited sometimes when they say, oh, well, I'm only have a leasehold interest.
Right.
You have a long leasehold interest.
And so let's go back to the leases, because I've been studying the leases since I got here in 1990, and I've been selling real estate on this street since 1990. So I've been watching the benefits of the leases, and they're giving us a discount on the lease fees right now. But I get this question all the time, so I thought maybe you could answer it for us in your words. Where do the lease fees go? Who gets to spend those? And where do the taxes go, and who gets to spend those?
Sure. The lease fees have gone to an entity that was created by the legislature for that purpose, called the Santa Rosa Island Authority. And the Santa Rosa Island Authority handles basic services here at the beach. I mean, they don't provide police, but there's a special tax that does. They don't provide fire. There's a special taxing district that does, provides fire services. But they have managed the beach, for example, instead of having a architectural review board and a planning board in Escambia County that has differences, that does not recognize the uniqueness of Pensacola Beach. That planning is done here locally with the Santa Rosa Island Authority, and they've done that's what everyone, it's like your cable company. Everybody hates them for one reason or the other. But they've done a fantastic job of developing the beach into a unique beach. I mean, I was attracted here I'm an Atlanta native, and I was attracted to this area for the reason that Pensacola Beach is unique.
It's super unique, and that's one of the things we'd love for you to call, find out, come see what the unique features are, and people like Ed Flemming can explain that to you. Now, what's the number one question you get at a cocktail party, or people call your office and say, just one more thing about this tax case? What's that thing that they just don't?
Probably the biggest issue is that they say, how could we both pay taxes, even on the improvements, and pay a lease fee? And the easy way to explain that is that when an interest in the land was conveyed, not fee simple, but a leasehold interest in the land was conveyed, it wasn't conveyed for, hundreds of thousands of dollars representing, the value of the entire bundle of sticks that go with real property. It was an annual amount, a relatively nominal annual amount that was based on the value of the land only, because that's all the government had to lease. It didn't build those condo towers and those beautiful houses that are out here. And so the lease fees are compensation for having a possessory interest in the property, and the taxes are for providing for other governmental services that Escambia County is provides, such as your schools and your repaving of your roads and things of that nature.
Got it. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks for coming out today. We appreciate you.
Well,
Ed Flemming, everybody. He helped win the tax case. I'm going to say 7 times. I think the headlines.
Yeah,
kept
it's about
popping up.
seven trips to the appellate courts.
Right. So very impressive. If you have any questions about owning property on the beach or having a lease on the beach, what that means, call walterpierce.com. Have a great day. Thanks.